Welcome to Snow Talk, where the Snow and Ice Management Association brings you trends, stories, news, and personalities that are shaping the professional snow and ice management industry. This season of Snow Talk is sponsored by Western, Fisher, and SnowX, so settle in and let's talk snow.
Attention snowplow professionals. Move massive amounts of snow this winter with the all-new Pile Driver Pusher Plow from Western. Engineered with trace edge technology, its independent 2-foot cutting-edge sections trip, oscillate, and raise vertically, allowing you to contour to the plowable surface and avoid obstacles. Take on big jobs and move more snow than you even thought possible with the Pile Driver Pusher Plow from Western. To learn more, contact your Western dealer or visit westernplows.com.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Snow Talk, CIMA's podcast for the snow and ice professionals. My name's Evan Newman, Membership Services Senior Manager here at CIMA, and we have a special episode in store for you today as we continue to work on providing stories and content that help elevate the industry, especially around branding, marketing. And that's kind of the focus of today's conversation. Our guest today is former Fortune 500 executive turned longtime curator of content and storyteller. He has worked with the likes of YouTube guru Evan Carmichael, executive producer of Cobra Kai Zach Arnold, best-selling author Heather Monahan, professional wrestler DDP or Diamond Dallas Page, for those of you who aren't fans, and the creator of the P90X program, Tony Horton. I'm excited to be joined today by Joshua Brecht of ECF Media for some important lessons in video content development and marketing. Joshua, welcome to the Snow Talk studio. We've talked a few times via LinkedIn and had some conversations online as well as via phone, but we were able to meet just a few weeks ago in person at the Snow Alliance show that Gene Stork hosted at his facility. How are you doing since then? How are things going?
Oh, things are moving fast as always. So I'm glad to be back. And it was a remarkable event. Got to meet many people in the industry. It's something that should be turning into even bigger things as we go forward. Definitely the consensus was trying to make the industry better. So it was nice to be around those that had that objective. So everything that after that, all the comments and the questions, and you can see some activity. It's really exciting to see, all leading up the road to CIMA.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just about to say the shameless plug of we're inching nearer and nearer to CIMA, the Snow and Ice Symposium this year. And that was kind of a nice gateway to get things started on the other side of the Keystone State for us. So we're excited. And I know that you had a great presentation at the Snow Alliance, and it might be something that we need to work on for the next Snow and Ice Symposium is to have you on the center stage. But we're excited. We're excited to sit down with you today to at least help folks get to know you and get to know what you're working on over at ECF Media. Joshua, I can tell from our handful of interactions and your resume of working with impactful content creators, of course, that you're a relationship builder. That's something of value to you. I also know that you're a listener and learner. I know you've listened to a number of my off-the-wall questions already over the course of our short relationship. Your background is not in snow and green, though. So where did the transition happen? What's helping you grow this tremendous growth over at East Coast facilities?
Yes, I do not have a background in green or snow. I lived in Florida a majority of my life. So when I came here, I was born and raised in Saratoga Springs, but my father left to go down to Florida because he did not like the snow. So from a very early age, snow is bad. That's what it was. Go away from the snow. However, my background is in filmmaking, but as you mentioned, I've worked for Fortune 500 companies as an executive, as a regional trainer. So really everything kind of goes back to the one moment that I saw Jurassic Park when it first came out. I was so mesmerized by everything that I saw that I wanted to do that again. I wanted to be able to recreate somehow that emotion that I felt in other people, because that really inspired me and turned me into a dreamer and all the different things that I wanted to do. So essentially, that's what I wanted to be, a filmmaker, but that's not what happened. I ended up working in retail. I ended up moving my way up the ranks, and then I became an executive and regional trainer for a company, for TGX Corporation, who owned HomeGoods, TJ Maxx, Marshalls. I just became a trainer. My desire has always been studying success. And the reason why studying success was so important was because I needed to know how to get what I was after. I needed to find people that already had it, and I needed to do what they were doing. And so I started to put into practice everything I was learning, and I ended up rising up the ranks. I rose up the ranks very fast. At one point, I was the youngest general manager in the entire company. And then I ended up working up my way up to being around that. But what I wanted to do is I liked helping people. So I used to train a lot of teenage high school students and college students on how to really pursue what they're after, how to get what they want, because they're going through a transition phase where they don't know what they want to do. I wanted to teach them what I had learned. But there was one student that came and said, you're teaching us how to pursue what we want, but how come you haven't done that? That really hit me. And from that moment on, I left my corporate job and I started my journey towards filmmaking. I'm building my video production company. It's getting big. I'm meeting people like Scott McKenna and I'm working my way up. And then COVID hit.
You're right.
And I lost pretty much almost all my clients. And so what do? Well, I had to rely on my network. There was a certain individual named Joshua Gomez. People may know who that is from East Coast Facilities, who I was engaging with. Why was I engaging with somebody with snow media? Because I liked his content. We had nothing to do with my industry, but I liked his content. He was engaging with me. He liked what I was doing writing wise. And next thing you know, he messages me. I tell him what was going on. And he's like, if you have a problem, like if you continue to lose clients, let me know. I'll have work for you. So next thing you know, I get hired as a writer for East Coast Facilities, doing social media, doing web design and web graphics. And that kind of how I got introduced to East Coast Facilities and got myself into snow and landscape media.
With that, with getting into the snow industry and with your immense experience in the corporate world, how does that corporate experience inform some of the work that you're doing now with East Coast?
Knowing the corporate language and knowing the language of business, it allowed me to focus on the right questions to ask as far as what I can provide value to the company that I'm working for. And it gave me kind of like a higher level, an overview of what it takes to grow a business, because I had had that corporate experience and because I had been involved with marketing my whole life. That was messaging. Training is all about messaging. It allowed me to see what was going on to a certain extent, because Joshua Gomez is obviously operating on a higher level. And when it comes to even my experience, the method and the techniques are different, but the principles are still the same. And so because I understood the principles, I was able to translate that into, okay, what's the objective? What is the objective of East Coast Facilities and how can I provide value to that? And so that allowed me to translate and to integrate very well with the company. But the other thing to keep in mind is that the culture of East Coast Facilities, it was a very collaborative experience. So when you have somebody like Joshua Gomez who's going all in on video media, all in, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars because he knows it's important. Now you spend less time trying to say, you should do this, you should do that, and trying to convince them rather than, hey, let's do this because it will work. And then giving the freedom to be able to do that because he knows what the game is. And on top of that, he is the chief content officer. So he's leading the charge. So when you have somebody like that that's taking charge of it, actually writing the scripts and coming up with the concept and really training the whole team, it allows me to get behind something. And it, like I said, becomes more of a corporate environment that I'm used to with collaboration, even though it's a small company. And it's just made it much easier for me to be able to do what I was doing best, my zone of genius, which is creativity and marketing, video production. That's all the things that are in my wheelhouse. I let him do what what's in his wheelhouse, and then I can just help support what he was doing.
Right. It supports that culture. It supports that growth. And anyone that follows East Coast Facilities knows the company is obviously very passionate about elevating the industry, its people internally, as well as the safety measures we all use within the snow and ice industry and the green industries respectively. CIMA's mission and vision is to build up the industry and equip them with some of the right tools for success in the ways we do business. It's akin to some of the old adage that the rising tide lifts all ships. Unfortunately, we have gaps in the way we share how essential snow removal is. What are some of your initial thoughts and ways to showcase the industry and our companies, East Coast Facilities in this case, in a positive way and in the ways that we work at large?
Because that's really what the idea is, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to beautify and amplify this industry. And it all comes down to giving a voice to those that don't have it. We have a lot of men and women that are on the front lines and they don't receive that voice. And so this avenue of video marketing, video media, more or less, is to be able to give a voice to those that don't. Now, how does that translate to marketing? Well, it really doesn't. It really just, we are proud of the work that our people do and we love showcasing it. If you weren't proud and you weren't happy with the work and you didn't believe in your product, you wouldn't share it. But I know that there's a lot of people out there that are proud of what they do. They are proud of, it takes a lot of hard work to build a snow removal and landscaping business, to be consistent, to battle the elements. This isn't for everyone. There's a special kind of grit and determination and kind of commitment to quality that you have to go into day in and day out over a long period of time. Share that. That needs to be, people need to know about this. And a lot of times the people that are seeing are two people, well, three people really. There are your prospective clients. You can kind of showcase your people. You can showcase your quality and you can showcase how you do it in a very safe way. You have those in the industry because if we inspire the industry, then that will raise the standards. It's like with any sport team, right? If you didn't have any really, really great sports teams, they would kind of be subpar. But because you have those 2 or 3 or 4 that have their target on their back, that forces you to elevate your game. The more and more people that we can get to do that and showcase that, it's going to elevate everybody's game. And then finally, show your people. You get to show that they were on camera, that they have a story, that they were out there for 3 days straight, working a wheel loader, shoveling, whatever it may be. And their family gets to see it. Their family gets to see, my family gets to see what I do. I get to show them the videos and they're like, oh, how was your trip? Oh, let me just show you because I have it. I can show them. It's like a company family video, family home videos for us. We can share this stuff and it makes a huge difference beyond the, oh, I'm going to get followers or I'm going to get clients or I'm going to expand my reach. Even on a very minute level, it makes a huge impact by those that see it. They get excited by it.
Absolutely. That's so exciting. It's so exciting to hear some of those stories about the ways that not only it's elevating the company, it's not only elevating the industry, but it's also, most importantly, elevating the people within it. Because when people want to be involved in the industry, that's how we grow. That's how we energize the next generation to say, hey, I want to be in snow removal in any green space. This is somewhere I can make a living. This is somewhere I can engage with the community that I'm working within, or I can build generational wealth potentially. There's some really cool opportunities to say, this is how we inform the next generation. So one of the reasons I wanted to cover this topic is because I've noticed a trend more and more, Josh, and more video coverage of our industry, for better or for worse, but mostly for the better. There's a lot of folks out there that are trying to publish what they're doing in snow and as they're working on different projects, even in the green industry. So that's drastically different from whenever I first started at CIMA, even though that was only about a year and a half ago. I wasn't seeing anything video related, marketing related. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, we share this, we share that. We occasionally share some people within our organization, but I'm seeing a lot more of it now on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. What do you consider to be some of the best practices around understanding the ins and outs of building a visual as well as a media strategy and brand?
There are many layers to this. And the very first thing is people are showcasing it more because Well, we have the ability. We have cameras. Now we have an iPhone or an Android. You have the ability to record and to be able to document. There's something about seeing it yourself that is inspiring and motivating, and people sharing the videos about what's going on. Even if it's just in the beginning, just sharing what you're doing. People like and are drawn to activity. A lot of reasons why people may even go to the gym versus working out at home, because when you go to the gym and you see everybody else working out, it drives you to work out. You're not going to just sit there and do nothing in the middle of a gym. It's the same thing when it comes to media. If everybody else is starting to post videos, you have a good company. You're not going to stand there and not do anything yourself. So that's the first step, is really just getting started, getting the recording, putting it out. And a lot of times you're not going to know what works until you actually try it and try a bunch of different things. So that's the first step. And that's really with ECF Media, which started with Gomez 20 something years ago when he started his business. He started off with a camcorder, recording stuff. Started off with a camcorder, and he was recording things. And over time, over the last 5 or 6 years, it's really when he started to get on the phone, and then he started to invest in media. But it was really all about documenting the journey. People are drawn to a story. It's not about the big fish that's on the wall. It's about the little ones that caught on the way that led to the big fish. Everybody wants to talk about the big fish, but you can't forget all the little fish that you caught along the way. And that's what this video does. That's what the video media does. It lets you show you all the little fish along the way. And then when you get a big fish, well, you got their attention. Now you can showcase that. So as far as best practices, as I mentioned, it really just comes down to starting, getting the habit, build the habit of producing content, recording, learning the ins and outs. If you think of like a business spoke, like a wheel, if you look at any successful business, they have a marketing department. And video marketing is a tremendous part of any successful Fortune 500 company, small company, is marketing. And if you're lacking in that area, well, the wheel's not going to be very balanced. And so making sure that you have a strong marketing arm, which is what ECF Media is to East Coast Facilities, is we allow that balance corporation. Because if you want to be a big company, you have to act like a big company. And what do big companies do? They have media teams. They have marketing. So how do you get started? Well, because we live in an age where anybody can, like I mentioned about the camera, anybody can film, anybody can record. It now comes down to just being a student of what works and what doesn't, and experimentation. And so, like I said, it really just comes down to amplifying your efforts. You can say something once and it can be seen millions of times. You get people, especially in like the snow removal industry and landscaping, how many times do you get the same question over and over and over and over? Well, you can film it once and then you can just send them the link to the video. That's how you can maximize your time, and you can duplicate yourself. You can literally duplicate yourself. You can literally clone yourself by using video. And so why we aren't capitalizing on it? And it really just comes down to awareness. It comes down to awareness of why it's important and what different techniques you can use. And because that best practice is just get started, just film something, record and release, record, release, repeat, record, release, repeat, and keep doing that, because you have to be bad before you're good. And so if you keep working at it, get really bad, and then you'll get experience. And with experience comes wisdom, with then you'll know how to actually go to the next level. But you can't jump to chapter 7 until you do chapter 1. And if you don't even do anything, you're going to hit chapter 11. You don't want to hit chapter 11. So chapter 1, start chapter 1, and then keep getting incrementally better over time.
So I guess that leads to my next question, is the team engagement. Obviously living, or working rather, in a very mobile industry like snow removal, like landscaping, but you're out late in the middle of the night. Sometimes there's not that person out to record a nice video. You mentioned, Josh, having a camcorder from the start. What kind of tools would you recommend a small, medium-sized company investing in to make sure that they are getting some footage? Because that's the problem I hear about most often, is that, oh, well, I went out, but I didn't get any footage. footage, or I got one photo and it wasn't that great, or I got one quick video, but it really didn't show what I needed to show. Where do folks start with equipment?
So first it starts with, I know it's a buzzword, but it's going to come again. It starts with culture. It starts with training. So I get asked this all the time. One of the top questions I get asked all the time through messaging is, and I get asked this question because we produce so much content, from pictures to video. We're just constantly pushing out content. How many people are on the ECF media team? And I always tell them 200 plus. And they're like, that's impossible. How could you possibly have that many people? How are you able to afford that many? Because everybody in our company has a phone. You have the equipment. You have the equipment. We have wheel loaders that are buying drones. We have operators that are sending us video from the wheel loader. We have sales reps. I mean, you have sales reps. Even if you have a minimum sales rep, they're taking pictures of sites and the works. Right. You have field supervisors. Everybody has a phone. When you have a culture that we need these videos and we need these photos and they're taking pictures. And it's not so much of, hey, take this video or take this photo because it's part of your job. Take this video and take this photo because I want to see the work that you're doing. I want you to be proud. Oh, wow, look at this line striping that we did. Let me send this picture out. Or look at this storm that we're in and it's crazy. Look at this piece of equipment that I'm riding in. Take the video, take the photo. And when people know within the company that this is used and that we use this for media and that people will see it, everybody wants to be a celebrity.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants to be a celebrity. And when they know that the exact picture will be shown to people and they'll get recognition for the work, then it's a huge motivating factor. So that's just, once again, chapter 1 is you can start today. By bare minimum, just get your sales rep and your field reps or your crew to film and take pictures. The next step is once you start to put this out because they know that it's going to view and results equal motivation. So now you're like, okay, now I'm starting to see some work. That's when you start to invest in a media team. As I talked about before, is that's part of the marketing arm of any business. And a lot of people ask me, it's the second most question I get is, what do I do? Like, what do I use? And it's the wrong question. It's really who, not how. Because you don't have time as a leader of the business, which I'm assuming most people that are listening to this are those that want to grow their snow business, grow their landscaping business, and they want to know how to use media to grow that. It's not what, it's who, which is the theme of my entire journey. Who has what I want? If you want to dominate in ad marketing, if you want to dominate in video marketing, who is already doing it? Find that person. Steve Jobs said that you don't hire really smart people and tell them what to do. That defeats the purpose. Hire smart people and have them tell you what to do, tell you what they need. And then as the leader, you can then support them. It's just a whole mindset shift. And if you can remove the barrier of resistance, which a lot of times is excuses that we can come up with why we shouldn't, or we don't have enough time, we don't have enough this, we don't have enough resources. Once we can get past that and we see the necessity, is it possible? It's necessary. It's necessary to do this. And if you can make it a barrier of friction, that's why using your crew for starters and see how much media that you have come in is something that's tremendous because that removes that resistance. And then you just have somebody you can delegate that to make sure that they're organizing all the media that's coming in.
When we first got to talking about this topic, you educated me a little bit about the power of long form storytelling. That's not just video, but writing as well. What is long form? Is there a short form? And tell me a little bit more about how the concepts differ and lend themselves to our industry and how we're trying to tell the story of the importance of snow removal.
In a business sense, it really comes down to what your objective is, your goal. What is your offer? What are you trying to sell? Now, for us, we want snow removal clients. We want snow removal clients, but we also want employees. We want good people. So once you realize what your goal is, how do you get them into that? In business terms, in marketing terms, and selling terms, there's top of funnel, middle funnel, and the bottom of the funnel. Bottom of the funnel is when you convert them. And so short form is great top of funnel. That's a good first touch, right? It says, it used to be how many touches you have to take before somebody becomes a client, 10, 15, everybody has a different number. But the media allowed you to amplify that effect by getting short form in front of them. It's that refrigerator magnet that you have. It's right on the refrigerator because you have to go there all the time. And people have to go to social media. Unfortunately, they have to feed themselves with social media every day. So you show up, and that's where the short form. The other part of it is attract, nurture, convert. So short form attracts them. The top of funnel and attracts them. It's their first introduction to you. Because every time you post something, only 20% of your audience is going to see it unless you back it by AdSense, because they want you to. Now there's tricks around that. You can join Facebook groups. You can join LinkedIn groups. You can start a newsletter. Those are ways that you can kind of counteract that. But for the normal business page, it's 20% of the people of your actual followers are going to see it. So you have to add frequency, and that's where that short form works really well. Once you get their attention, then you want to build that relation. You want to nurture that relationship. That's where the long form comes in. So what's long form? Long form is, we do 2, 3, 4 minute videos that we'll create. We create training videos. We do LinkedIn lives. We do internal training, which are sometimes hour long. We do podcasts. We do Joshua Comment. We'll do keynote speeches, which is long form. That's how you build that relationship. And that's the long form. Podcasts obviously are the wave of the future. Everybody says, everybody has a podcast. Yeah, but there's also a lot of books. That isn't going to keep you from writing them. There's actually more YouTube channels than there are podcasts. Yet everybody's no problem starting a YouTube channel, but I'm not going to start a podcast. Podcast is one of the number one ways you can build relationships because it gives an opportunity to people that normally wouldn't have that opportunity. And it's great for business. But once you get their attention and they want to learn more about you, they will consume everything else that you have, which is the long form. And then you have your conversion, which is when they end up doing business with you. But you have to really look into the training part of it, because most of what we do, nobody ever sees, because it's mostly for internal training, which helps on quality. It makes our people better. It makes us safer, which is the C in our brand is for people, quality, and safety. When you hit all of those marks with long form, with the training, it just makes it much easier to sustain your brand and your awareness. And it just gives you a huge archive. It gives you a huge archive of media that you have for the future.
I appreciate that deep dive into what the total picture looks like. Short form's kind of your place to start to build that audience over time, and long form is the way that we reinforce or grow and further engage that audience. That's something that even us here at SIMA, we're always trying to do. And sometimes I think we get discouraged in the world of social media and in the world of engagement because of that 20% that are seeing our content and interacting with our content. How are we reaching new people? But like you said, there's different ways, different levels of creativity and different methods that we always have to be constantly educating ourselves to kind of get there. Because like you said, as you mentioned anyway, there's thousands upon thousands of books, and there's thousands upon thousands of methods to get our message out there. And that just starts with short form and long form. And there's a lot of other ways to get there. So we're going to go ahead and take a break to thank our sponsors. Our sponsor for today's episode is Western. Thank you for your sponsorship. Let's sneak up on the elephant in the room. I'm not on TikTok, likely won't be anytime soon. You're more apt to find me getting sucked into the Instagram or Facebook reel, which is really no different, as Joshua would tell you. But whether we're looking at TikToks or reels or a LinkedIn video, how do we compete for airtime in a world where everyone wants a engaging video to be a part of their daily diet of social media?
Well, that really just comes down to the intention of the different platforms. Every platform is different. So with LinkedIn, it generally B2B business is really good. Most of the work that's done on LinkedIn, we never see. That's done in the back end. So you have to have content in order to attract, but a lot of the nurturing happens on the back end. So that's that. Instagram, Facebook, it generally for us, we use it for talent acquisition. So Facebook, Instagram, as well as YouTube is really for talent acquisition. We will dump content into certain markets. The idea is that if you have better people, you have better work. If you have better work, you'll make your clients happy. Make your clients happy, you'll keep your clients. If your people are happy, then that will give you even more work. You know what I mean? So it really comes down to really using that for talent acquisition and getting people in your market, because it's seasonal work. So we had one experience where somebody saw our ad on Facebook and Instagram, and they saw it was people first. Once again, it comes down to what's your message? What's your brand? Because you never know when they're going to see that piece of content. So if you try to go in too many different directions, the one time they do see it, if your brand's not on point, then that was a missed opportunity. But because our brand, we integrate all three aspects into everything that we create. He saw it. Then he went to go look us up on YouTube. He saw a lot of people first content, went to our website, and he says, hey, I want to work for you guys. And he's an operator with us still to this day. We're not hiring for this winter. We're hiring for the next 10 to 15 winters. So that's that content. TikTok is brand awareness. Simply put, TikTok will get you to a bunch of different places very fast, and it will allow the people that do follow you, people that are in the industry, to see you. And it's really just a matter of brand awareness. So it just depends on your goals, and it depends on understanding the different platforms and who they're catered to. And that will help you make an informed decision about what type of media to put there. Now, we have company-based recruitment style that go, like I said, to Facebook and Instagram. And then our messaging in LinkedIn is more about the community. It's more about trying to acquire middle management and those B2B relationships. And like I said, TikTok is more or less, we are going to continue to push it, because if Nike's going to put stuff on TikTok, it just depends on what your mindset is. If Nike's going to do it, why shouldn't we do it? If they're on it, we should be on it. If the person that you emulate, that you want to be like, you say, this is my goal. This person has what I have. If they have a TikTok, then do it and put a TikTok out. It's underpriced attention right now to be able to put it out, and you might as well push it. You may not be able to engage on everything, but you can get it out there and get a lot of views for your content.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a helpful tip. And let me ask, and this may be a stupid question, but where do you find, you mentioned, okay, the best place to start whenever deciding upon your media allocation is to understand the media in of itself first. So where would a novice start to say, okay, this is how I reach this audience. This is how I reach this audience best on a Facebook, on an Instagram, is there a place to do some of that market research, a place to benchmark to understand, or is it just a matter of putting the bait out there, seeing what bites, and then taking a step back and then formulating a better strategy or changing course, if you will?
So depends on how committed you are to the process. But just like with sales, the only way to sell is to understand your customer's problems. So it really comes down to sales, and relationship building is about listening. So if you want to know what to put out, you need to listen to what people want. You can't put out what you want. You have to put out what people want. Now, it depends on who's interacting with it. I interact with the platform from a business sense, but Facebook is a different demographic. Instagram is a different demographic. TikTok is a different demographic. So we need to understand who is there first. And once you understand who is there, then you'll be able to say, well, how can I communicate with that person? What's their biggest problem? What's their biggest goal? What's their biggest fear? And what language do they speak in? And I don't mean like Spanish or French. I mean, how do they talk? Because TikTok is way different than LinkedIn. Facebook is different than Instagram. So you need to understand their language. You need to understand how to communicate to them. And once you start listening, so how do you do this in a practical sense? Well, you need to look at your competitors that are doing this very well, if there are any. But look at your competitors that are doing this very well And what are the questions that are constantly popping up? What are the people saying in the comments? What are they posting that's doing very well? So that's another way to look at it. You can look at, okay, this is a snow removal company that's doing it very well and they're posting this type of content. That's what we're going to post because obviously that's what people want. So it's just generally being able to listen and understand what the challenges are in the market. And then you just drive to do it better than they, or offer your own spin on it. Because what you guys do at CIMA is different than what we do with East Coast facilities. You're in the education space. So who in the education space is doing this very well? And how do you, what they call vertical thinking? You look at somebody that's doing something very well in one industry and then you just jump that over to your industry. So for me, I look at Apple, Nike, I look at a lot of different things that they're doing because it's successful. And I say, how do I translate that into our industry? And so that's how you do it. It's just by listening and understanding. And as a business owner who has built their business on listening to problems and solving them, it should come natural to a business owner to be able to go and look at the trends and what's going on. If you're not, it's all about relationship building. How would you build a relationship with this person? It's not about selling. It's about relationship building. If you can understand how to communicate with that person, then you'll be successful. But start with one platform first, get very good at that, and then work your way up. If you don't feel like you have to do all the platforms at once, you can do Facebook and Instagram simultaneously. LinkedIn is a completely separate style. YouTube can be your depository of media that you have. You can just put stuff on YouTube. You're not necessarily going to grow it to a high audience and snow removal, but it's going to be a great asset for you to be able to send like, hey, you have this question, or hey, you want to know the work we do? Here, let me send you this link. And it just gives you more weapons in the arsenal.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what we're all trying to do is build a greater toolkit so that we can be successful. And something we've talked a lot about recently is reusing content. CIMA has so much content. How do we reuse some of it to make sure that it's still in front of the right people at the right time? And I think that that's probably true. You tell me if I'm wrong, but that's probably true even in the snow and ice space. I mean, you don't have to have brand new content just to throw it out there for the sake of doing it. You can reuse some of that. I would say we should feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah, I'm absolutely 100%. Look at your numbers. Just know your numbers. Know what you've done in the last 90 days and repost the top 20% of your, like I said, because as you grow your reach and you get more followers, those are the people that have never seen that content. I mean, we have videos that we posted and people that we made 3 years ago. And they're like, wow, that's amazing. I can't believe we created that 3 years ago. And so utilize the fact that people, only 20% of your audience is going to see it. So that gives you 5 opportunities, and then take your best stuff, your best content that performed very well and repost it. And then at some point, now you've got a 90-day calendar where you've got, okay, these things work really well and the rest of it are new. And then you go through the next cycle and you go, okay, these things worked really well. This worked really well. I know some creators that post stuff from a post from 2 years ago, and it's still performing. So if something performed well, save it, archive it, whatever you have to do, and that will give you more ammo for the future. And then try that. Right now, there's a big thing going on with X, or formerly Twitter, where people are posting stuff on Twitter or X, and the stuff, because it's getting a lot of reach, and the stuff that performs the best there, they will then translate that into video. So they'll translate that into a video, and that will become their short form, because it's essentially a script, right? Social media writing is a script. So if you can use that, you can use your best performing post and just turn it into a short or a reel or a TikTok.
Many assume, including myself at times, that video isn't an attainable feat for their company because of time, talent, budget, what have you. We're operating in a fairly complex industry, and in terms of operating under the cloak of night to make sure that our customers are kept safe. But what are some things a company who is on the fence about implementing video into their marketing plan, what are some things that they can do to build a marketing strategy and implement video into this effort to be a force within their community or in their market?
So the first thing is just solidify your brand and just make sure that everybody's on the same page. You never want your reach to extend your character, meaning Going viral is the worst thing that you can do if you're not prepared for it. Get the sound foundation built first and make sure that everybody is on the same page. If you can do that first, then everything else is just amplification of that. So make sure your brand is on point. If you're not sure, either hire somebody to help, ask somebody for help. If you feel like another company is doing something similar, has the same values. We started our campaign, Sumos Uno, which means we are one in Spanish. And then we started to see this happen all the time. We saw different variations of that because it's an idea, it's a principle. You can put your own spin on stuff that works well. So don't think, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, just choose one and then use it and try it. If it doesn't work, then try something else. But get your brand on point, get your mission, get your values, make sure you understand what it is you're trying to communicate to the world that you want people to be proud about, that you want people to know, and then just let everything focus on that. Everything should permeate into, and I've said this to people before, it's like if Nike were to make a hotel, can you imagine right now what that would look like? Absolutely. Because their brand is on point. It can translate to anything that they do. So what would your hotel look like? What is your brand? What is your brand about? Stick to that and then just get out as much as possible. And that's what we do with East Coast facilities. We know exactly who we are and where we are going. And so it makes it easier to come up with content because everything is through that lens. Your focus determines your reality. The same thing goes with marketing. If you know what your focus is, which is media, using a camera, then you'll know what the reality is, what the perception that everybody will have about your business. And then you can do that. And there's never been a better time and an opportunity for small businesses to capitalize on stuff that 10, 20 years ago, only the big media companies had access to. Now you can put out the same amount of content as Nike and Adidas and Apple, same amount. And a lot of times it looks better depending on who you hire or who you use and how the team puts, but we have the same power. The playing field has been leveled. Now it's just a matter of taking advantage of it.
Leading into the final question for you here, Josh, we talked extensively about what's relevant now during this last almost hour together, but let me ponder with you for a moment. What should folks know about what's on the horizon and going to be relevant for either ECF media or social media and video marketing as a whole? What's on the horizon? What do you think's on the horizon for the industry and how video plays a role in that, how media plays a role in that?
This is an important message. Don't think that everybody's at a different level. Just keep at it. Whatever level you are, wherever chapter you're on, just keep turning the pages. Keep turning the pages. This book is never ending. It's got a really good ending, a lot of plot twists, but it's fun. It's fun, you know, and as my good friend Tony Horton would say, do your best and forget the rest and don't smash your face.
This has been a super helpful, enlightening, and engaging conversation. And I hope you're wearing those bright green shoes to match the hat.
Absolutely. Although The Rock is coming out with some new shoes too. I got to look at what color they're in. But if he does, I'll get those. We will put the ask out for him once we see what he's coming out with. But Joshua, thanks again for sharing your knowledge and passion with us today on Snow Talk. We really appreciate it. I'd also be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to our loyal listeners, our education and content director, Cheryl Higley, for all of her help in making our podcast possible. And last but certainly not least, to our sponsor, Western. Any final thoughts, Joshua, as we depart? Yeah, just keep at it. Just keep at it. Don't be intimidated. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Plant that seed and it will, I promise you, it'll grow if you just stay. Consistency is the game. The number one thing people say they have a problem with is consistency. Just keep at it. Keep pressing play, record, repeat. Absolutely. Thanks again, Joshua. If you liked today's episode, folks, or learned something new, which I'm sure you have, I sure have, please share with a colleague or industry peer and join us for the next episode of Snow Talk. Take care and thanks again.
Thanks for listening to Snow Talk, sponsored by Western, Fisher, and SnowX. Check out all of our episodes at sima.org/podcast.